Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first and may I even say the most important episode of our brand new podcast, The School of Hot Takes. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Dylan and Brian, and we can't wait to discuss football and have some hot takes along the way. Woo! Thank you, everyone.
Very excited. Very excited.
You sound it.
I really am. I do enjoy a good talk with the fellows. I enjoy hot takes. I enjoy many different players and teams, and I do enjoy getting to roast Mitch on a nightly basis of his terrible takes. So I'm very excited.
I don't have that bad of takes. Let's be real here. Come on.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Yeah, we're on the same page here.
Yeah, this is a great time to start a podcast because we have the draft coming up. We just had the combine and free agency last month. And I love doing research on prospects. I hate college football, which is a hot take for another day, sadly. But I love looking at prospects. I love watching film and really do nothing with it besides maybe make a Madden draft class and talk shit at bars. So this is a great excuse to, come on here and talk to everybody about some players that I like in the upcoming draft.
On the other end of that
2024.
spectrum, I know myself and Dylan do not go into the crazy depth that you do, Brian, of watching film and stat tracking and all this sort of stuff. Personally, I like watching college football, but that is about to the extent of my college football draft knowledge, essentially. I know a lot of the big names, I know what a lot
Yeah.
of teams need, but gonna
I
be looking forward
I don't
to
want to get a hold of myself. I was telling you guys off air. I probably every year watch like about 50 players. And I start that process after college football ends. I only watch like maybe the top 50 prospects. And I look at other scouts mock drafts. Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks have a great, they put out what, 5 mock drafts. Look at prospects um, from years past that have been like projected to go pretty high. And I kind of just look at like a subset of about 50. And at this point, I've only like really gone in depth on about 2025 of those players. Um, and it's really interesting. So if you want to pull up my mock draft, Mitch,
of course.
this is the 4th mock draft that I've done.
Only the fourth. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so I always do one immediately after college football ends, which is crazy. The draft is always so far off. You have no idea what teams need at that point. And then I try and do one after the Super Bowl, and then I try to do one like kind of during free agency because that's when I start getting really excited about football being back. And then I did this one week before. This will probably be my last draft before the actual draft.
And the actual
Worth
draft is
noting,
what day is the actual draft on?
It's on
Thursday
25th.
is the first round.
Let's fucking
Thursday,
go.
25th. Thank you, Mitch, for pulling up the
Yep.
calendar. That was really helpful.
Yeah, that did help.
And so I will also say to our listeners and viewers, if you're looking at this mock draft, I use the PFF, which is a pain in the ass for trades. So there are some picks that I don't actually agree with here. I tried to make it so that the team actually picked a player that I think that they will take. Um, and also, I mean, I feel like I'm talking a lot here, but I will also say I think that there's really only 1 or 2 ways to do a mock draft. Nobody is going to be able to predict what team takes what players. It's, you know, like they say, in that front office right now, these teams don't even know who they're going to take. They have a board of about 5 guys that they think that they're going to take, and that's it. They don't know for sure who's going to fall to them. They don't know what trade's going to come during draft night. So it's not worth it to try and predict. I look at mock drafts as A, what would I do in that team's position, or B, what should they do in that position? And this is kind of a combination of both of those ideologies. I tried to look at a team's need while also picking my favorite player that was available at that point. So, D Spice, Mitch, do you guys have any takes? Does anything jump off of the
I
mock
mean,
draft that you want to talk
right
about?
off the bat, I see you got Caleb Williams 1. That is, I tell you what, way to jump out on a limb there.
Yeah, that
That's
was a
tough for,
little
I can't
questionable on
believe
that
you
one,
put him at
Smoke.
1. Now, what I actually do want to talk about though is number 2. We've talked about this several times now that you've still got that boner for Drake May, and I just don't know if I just don't
I
I think Jaden Daniels is going to. I just really think he is going to.
I have to agree with you that I think Drake May is actually going to fall in this draft. I don't think he's going to fall far, but I don't see him going number 2. I am just not high on Drake May. I've watched
Yeah,
quite a bit of his
I'm
highlights
subscribing
and
purely
stats.
off of the Cliff Kingsbury stuff of like how he likes his QBs, and I just feel like Jane Daniels fits that mold better than Drake May. But I understand Drake May probably has the most potential. I just don't think people want to wait for that potential.
True. I think Drake May would best be for a team who has like an established QB, can sit for a year or two, and then come in. I think Drake May would benefit best from that sort of dynamic on a team, personally.
Yeah. I think at this point we are recording this a week from the actual draft. At this point, it is a very hot take to have Drake May that high. I've seen Drake May anywhere from 3 to 11 going to the Vikings or the Patriots. I think Drake May's best fit is the Patriots. I will say, I think, again, we are recording this April 21st. So, what happened on Friday with Jaden Daniels and the controversy with his agent and how they're handling the Commanders,
True.
it doesn't seem likely that the Commanders pull the trigger on him. There is really only one other quarterback in this class that I would take in the top 2, and that is Drake May. Um, this is a class. I think everyone is talking about how this is an amazing quarterback class. One of my hot takes is it's really not that good.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that 100%. I agree.
I think part of that is a lot of the teams that need QBs don't have good skill positions to assist their QB. So I think the QBs themselves may be good, but they don't have the talent to assist them. So I think a lot of these QBs are gonna flame out in their first year or two,
I mean,
essentially.
Washington's like WR room though is like crazy though. Their wide receivers are nice.
That
They
and
just need that.
they also just signed Eckler in the offseason, so that'll help
Yeah,
in
Eckler's
rush
so
pass game.
washed up. He's a
I
freaking
know,
scrub.
but
He's
to have that
I'll say it
experience
right
there,
now, that guy is a scrub. I saw pictures today where he was like, Austin Eckler looking all jacked. He's gonna steal the show or something, just like everyone thought last year, and he was a bona fide scrub.
okay,
Bottom,
well,
terrible.
he's still a very good pass catching running back. It'll
Yeah, and
definitely
Madden,
help for a
absolutely. And
rookie
Madden, he's great.
QB. Like, don't get me wrong.
Which could
Definitely
help
a
too,
little
I
washed,
guess. I
but
mean, that could also be why they got him, is to help someone like a Drake May have that
correct.
easy,
That's what I think is
release valve.
their big reason for signing him in the offseason.
Another hot take you got here is 3, JJ McCarthy, right up on there. Look at this guy. Do you
I
remember like 2 months ago how he was like the last QB? Everyone was like, it's JJ McCarthy. Now he's like really high up for some reason out of nowhere.
I
Yeah.
actually really agree with this pick because I think JJ McCarthy would be the perfect fit for the Patriots. Like, if I
And
look at JJ
that's what they thought
McCarthy,
about
he
Mac
just
Jones.
screams a Patriot. Like,
Yeah, that's what they thought about Mac Jones. How'd that work out? Really good.
I think
I
he's
really
really good.
think that if Washington takes Jaden, like a lot of people are projecting, Patriots are going to pull the trigger on Drake May.
Yeah, absolutely. Why
I
wouldn't they?
like I just said, I do not think that that is going to happen, and so I have them taking JJ McCarthy here. I don't think they like Jaden Daniels. I actually think that what will probably happen is that they will trade back, and a team will come up and get Jaden Daniels. I have the Vikings there. I think that is the best fit for Jaden Daniels at this point. Um, Jaden Daniels needs good receivers, and the Vikings are a
Absolutely.
team that is a quarterback away from being a contender in the NFC. And I
True.
think that is the perfect situation for him. If Jaden Daniels goes just about anywhere else, I would be concerned. I also do kind of want to say that the reason I have Drake May so high, I want to come back to that. The reason I have Drake May at 2, I think Drake May is easily the second best quarterback prospect. And it is the drop off from Drake May to Jaden Daniels and JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix and Michael
Don't you
Penix.
forget about Mr. Michael.
Michael Penix. I have some takes on him.
Yeah. But like I said, I think he is very far ahead of all of those prospects. I think something that you have to remember is I've been burnt before with players like Josh Rosen, and I'm trying to think of another player.
Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter. Come on,
Desmond Ritter one.
Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah. But there are players who have one really, really good year in college, and then that boosts their stock. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, these guys were not first-round draft picks in the 2022 season.
Couldn't you say the same thing about Drake May, though? His best year was last year, and then he did awful this year.
Drake May was really good in 2022. I've watched a little bit of him in 2022. His offensive line is really bad, and so his numbers don't look amazing. He actually, I believe, had the worst ranked O-line in college football in 2022.
Michael, but remember, 2022, he had his best running back years. He had Michael Carter and what's his face, the other guy that went to Javon Williams or whatever that went to the Broncos. Remember, he had the 1-2 punch.
Yeah. But like I said, I still think that despite that, he has been more consistent. When you watch Drake May play football, Drake May is doing Drake May. JJ McCarthy is reliant on Michigan's system. I will say that straight up. Like JJ McCarthy was going undrafted in mock drafts the year before, and Michigan had an amazing. Hardball was there. They had an amazing season, and all of a sudden he's top 10. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen. Like I said, I think the Patriots trade back and take him because he is such a good system quarterback that I think he fits the Patriots archetype perfectly. And again, if JJ McCarthy goes anywhere besides New England, maybe the Vikings, I would be really concerned about JJ McCarthy as a prospect.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. Like I said, I think JJ McCarthy best fits in the Patriots system. It'll be interesting to see how they do without Belichick there, but I have to assume it's somewhat similar. They're typically able to mold their QBs how they like. I mean, there's the oddities, of course, Mac Jones, but
I
think
actually subscribe pretty hard to. I've seen a couple now where the Patriots trade back and get a ton of picks to really bolster their other positions and wait till next year, since they're already kind of chalking this up to probably a rough year, regardless of what QB they get, which would make a lot of sense for them. If you got the number 3 pick, you can get a ton of like later depth, like in your draft, and then wait till next year and get maybe the 1 or 2 QB instead of taking a risk on JJ McCarthy, who might as well be Ray Charles. Like, he could be awful. Who knows?
Have you seen anyone who, like, any teams that would trade up to that? I mean, I know there's quite a few teams that need quarterbacks,
Vikings want it bad. Vikings want it, and who else? I think I saw Saints would be interested in a trade up, and there's one more. Oh, Raiders. Raiders were the other team. Were like, yo, we would do it if the right QB's there.
Cool. But yeah, I think the next thing I want to jump to here is your 5 and 6 picks here.
Receivers loaded.
Everything that I'm seeing, Brian, Neighbors is going to be the number 2 wide receiver. I don't know.
Rome Odunze, don't sleep on the boy.
Rome Odunze is a freak, dude. That dude can ball. I think the reason that Michael Penix had such a good season is that Rome Odunze is NFL ready. People talk about his contested catches. I'm telling you, that is a fraction of this guy's game. This guy, I've seen, the route running is there. He reminds me a lot of Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson is a guy that I had projected as the number 1 receiver in his draft class. And I feel like that has paid off. And I feel like Rome Odunze is there. If this wasn't a class with Marvin Harrison Jr. in it, who is, probably a Hall of Famer based off of his college film. Not, again, hot take, way too early to tell, but is just that guy. Rome Odunze, again, so far above the other receivers in this class, in my opinion. Malik Neighbors is good. I feel like Malik Neighbors needs
I
to
think
go to a team that will fit what kind of player he is. He's not as
I feel like he's a Mike Williams type. Don't you
multi-talented.
get it? Like he's built big. He can run straight very well. Like he's a Mike Williams. He's 6'4", isn't he? Like he's big and fast, but he's not.
Dunze?
No, I'm talking about Neighbors. Like I think Neighbors is built like a Mike Williams type, like a big, strong, fast guy, and like that's his type. You know what I mean? He's not. I don't look at him as a finesse guy, like almost like I do. Like a Dunze is more finesse. His route running's there. His hands are there. I just don't see that with with Neighbors. I just don't see it.
Yeah, Neighbors is the player that gets comped to Neighbors a lot, and I feel like it's just because he went to LSU. It's Odell Beckham,
Okay, that's fair.
and
Look how
I
that.
feel like what Odell Beckham does better than anybody else is his release.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
I do think that Malik Neighbors has the nicest release in this class. He's he's right there at 6. I'm not saying that Malik Neighbors is not good. Malik Neighbors can ball too. I think the Chargers in particular are going to be able to use Rome Odunze, and he's going to be a offensive rookie of the year candidate for sure. Justin Herbert throwing him the rock. I project easily 100 catches for Rome Odunze in his rookie season. I think
Ooh.
he's going to be that kind of player. And it's, I've also seen Chargers looking to trade back. I think if the draft falls this way, where 3 quarterbacks are taking 1, 2, 3, and then Marvin Harrison's taken, I think there's no shot that the Chargers don't take Rome or Malik. And Rome is just
Oh yeah, they're definitely taking one of the
my
two.
favorite receiver in this class.
I just think with the system, with how Harbaugh is going to come in um with Neighbors, I think it's just a better fit, honestly.
He loves to run the ball, though, man. Harbaugh loves to run that rock.
I don't
We
know.
watched multiple games where J.J. McCarthy finished with less than 10 passes. Mind you, don't forget
True.
that. Yeah, he's a run type. He's a run first quarterback or coach for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have not looked at Malik or Rome Odunze run blocking.
No,
I
that's
think that's
actually a great. I don't think either one of them were big run school. I mean, Washington was for a little bit until the
Mhm.
championship, and then their RB got hurt there, so that kind of hurt them. But I don't think
Yeah.
LSU ran the rock much at all.
Yeah, LSU's offensive line is kind of amazing right now. So even if Malik Neighbors was better, I don't even think we would notice that. So I think that's really interesting though, because I think receivers blocking is something that NFL scouts and NFL GMs look at more than like the common fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because it's very important to, when you set that edge, you have to have a receiver out there blocking for that running back to take it to the next level. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of good run blocking receivers in the league. And I feel like it's something that people don't scout. And then they wonder, like, a really good example of this, Drake London.
Mhm.
Drake London is an amazing run blocking receiver.
Yeah.
And that's why he was taken over Garrett Wilson, in my opinion, is that they knew what they wanted to do. That Falcons offense a couple of years ago knew exactly what they wanted to do. And they took him over Garrett Wilson because they knew they weren't going to be a team that utilized Garrett Wilson's skill set. And I feel like that's a very similar situation we got here with Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors. And so maybe my take would change if I look at Rome or Malik run block. Because you're right. I mean, the Chargers are going to be a team they're going to run the ball. They got Gus Edwards. They're going to grind and grind and grind.
Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Neighbors also got helped a ton by his combine stuff and like his pro day workout. Like he was a little farther down, but then when everyone saw, oh, he's, like 215, 220, whatever he is, 6'3", 6'4", and can run a 4.4, like that really helped him. So like seeing those physical attributes add up with the tape really helped him. Whereas Rome Odunze was already, everyone was like, that's a top 5 guy. If Marvin Harrison wasn't here, it's Rome Odunze or nothing.
Yeah. One thing I want to bring up, is there any chance that the Giants take a running back here after losing Saquon, or is it like straightforward, pretty much wide receiver?
Not this year, no way. It's like the worst RB draft in the last 5 years maybe. Trash.
It's really bad.
Got it.
I don't think
There
there'll be
will
a
not
first round.
be.
There's no
there will
first round running back this year.
No. And I agree with the consensus that there is not a first round running back. And even the running backs that you might look at in the second round, I don't think they're worth taking it that high. This class is too deep in other positions to take a mediocre running back. Like, I don't want to call Jonathan Brooks mediocre, but like, I don't want to take a mediocre running back or a running back who might not be my starter in 4 years
True.
in the second round when you can get, this draft class or this mock draft doesn't have all of the receivers on it, obviously, but this is a crazy deep receiver class. This is, in my opinion, going to be the best receiving class in NFL history. There are players who should get taken in the first round who are going to fall to the second and third just because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And so I think for the Giants have so many needs. They have so many needs. They're a bad team. They're a bad team, man.
Yeah, very bad.
I think they take best player available here, and they take Malik Neighbors.
You have to.
You could argue for Joe Alt. You might even be able to argue for like Brock Bowers, or maybe they take a quarterback. But I think Malik Neighbors is a better player than all of those players. And
yeah, I mean, especially last year, they took Jalen Hyatt thinking he was going to be like a world stopper, and I think he still could be really good from Tennessee. But last year, their QB play was,
subpar.
Yeah, it's not great. And then now coming back with maybe Daniel Jones or maybe whoever, who even is the starting QB right now? Is it Tyrod? Is it somebody else?
It's Daniel.
It's Daniel Jones, and then
it's
Daniel
Dimes.
Jones, Drew Lock, and then Danny DeVito.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I did see something though about this that if they
you just call him Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
Danny DeVito. That is
sorry.
I saw him actually. He was he was getting like quartered around in one of the New York Knicks games still, so he's still a celeb.
Nice.
I did see a thing though that the Giants, if the right QB fell, they would consider it. I did see a thing about that, and I think I want to say it was only like Drake May or one other that they would even consider. But that is a chance if there's a couple. If one of those dudes falls, they may do that just to put the pressure on Danny Dimes because he's kind of a trash can.
Yeah.
Drake May would be a really good fit there, I feel like.
Yeah. With the head coach that they have, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Drake May needs a good offensive line, and he needs a lot of good check down players. And I feel like the Giants, they can check down the ball. If I know the Giants, they can do one thing. Let's check down the ball.
Yep.
I mean, they've been riding with Sterling Shepard for years, and that guy's a joke. So
Hey, Sterling Shepard is no longer employed by the New York Giants.
Oh, good.
You can't shit talk him when he's not even employed.
Where'd he go? Did they release him?
I don't think he's on a roster. I think he's a free agent.
Sterling Shepard's last. Damn it, I'm pissed.
Sterling Shepard, he had like 2 good seasons where I was like, dude, this guy.
Yeah, you remember the hype when he came out though? Him and Odell were supposed to be like the greatest combo ever, and then they sucked.
He had some really good games for a couple of years there. I was always impressed.
Shout out to Sterling Shepard. If you're listening, which I know you are, Sterling, we still love you, buddy. I'll add you on fantasy. Don't you worry.
Sterling Shepard, our number 1 fan.
There you go.
I'm gonna definitely, when we get this up, I'm gonna add him on every social media. Make sure to watch this.
We will
tag him in the
send
video.
him a link to this podcast.
Yeah, actually, can we
Sterling
name
Shepard,
this one Sterling Shepard? Can we just name this one Sterling Shepard's biggest
of course.
fan?
We'll just be very thirsty and be like, Sterling Shepard, please watch our podcast. Sterling Shepard, please share.
Yeah. If he does, I'll get a tattoo of Sterling Shepard anywhere he asks.
Well, there you go.
Sterling, you heard that. You heard that, Sterling Shepard. I'll get a tattoo on my freaking forehead. If you want it, though, you get to pick. It's okay. Hey, what other position in this draft is like really stacked? What other defense is not that great this year, right?
I've heard a lot of edge positions. Like
really, edge. I thought edge was weak.
Not super high up on like the top 10 to 15, but I mean later on in the first round, I've heard a lot of.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you got Dallas. Dallas Turner's really, he's pretty solid.
Mitch, did the Amish tell you that this was a good?
Yeah, definitely
edge class.
I thought it was more offensive. I thought this was a more offensive draft. Honestly,
there's those top 3 to 5 edge rushers though that I think are definitely going to go in the first round, and I mean you've got most of them listed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are really only 2 edges that are first round talents in my opinion. I think if you see, I do have Jared Verse getting taken. I think Jared Verse is just a very specific archetype that LA really would like to use. I think Jared Verse is
Yeah,
Aaron Donald-esque. And I know
that's
Aaron
why
Donald
I
didn't
think Byron
necessarily
Murphy
play
could
edge,
make
but
it there too.
Yeah.
yeah, I think Byron is going to go earlier than that. I think here's the thing is like you said, Dylan, this is not a defensive class. I think if you were to like really sit here and talk about the top 20 players, just straight up top 20 players, you would have maybe one defensive player in there. And in my opinion, that would be Dallas Turner or Latu Latu, depending on your taste. Um, it is a really, really, really solid offensive class. And the defensive players that I think the big thing to note about the defense is it drops off. Um, Again, I'm not looking fourth round and below or anything like that, but in terms of edges, like I said, you have two that I would take in the first round. In terms of interior defensive linemen, I have two that I would take in the top 40, 50 picks. Corner, I think, is underrated. I think that this is a pretty decent corner class, and nobody is really talking about the corners in this class. I look at like Kool-Aid McKinstry probably falling to 29. That's a player
Hey, shout out
yeah,
Kool-Aid.
like again, you got to look at consistency with these players. Kool-Aid had a pretty decent year last year, and 2 years ago, Kool-Aid was a projected top 15 pick, and now all of a sudden he's late first round, early second round material, and I think he's still pretty good, and I think he fits Detroit perfectly. Nate Wiggins is going to be the sleeper of this draft. I think he does fall because of his injury. But I think Nate Wiggins is the CB1 in this class. If I had to predict what corner is going to be an instant starter, defensive rookie of the year candidate, it's Nate Wiggins. I do think he probably goes to either Jacksonville or Arizona. I think those are the two best fits for him.
He's a speed guy, right? Like, isn't he super fast?
Yes, yeah, he was,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that like he got hurt on his 40 running this incredible 40 time. And I don't even know if that was necessary because if you turn on film, he's right there. He reminds me a lot of last year looking at like Devin Witherspoon, where he's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
the fastest guy in the world on the field, but where the ball goes, he's already there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just
Which I
has
could see the
really good
Seahawks
instincts.
going again. They love doing that shit. They love taking those guys.
Yeah, that corner room would be insane if they had Woolen
Yeah.
and Witherspoon and Wiggins and Cincinnati Bearcats legend Kobe Bryant. Like, what an
I mean,
insane
just by
corner.
name alone, that's a great room.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, I
I think
also
that's
see you forgot about the Cooper DeJean right here, or DeJean. Is that how you say his name?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going
Where do you have him in? Oh, right there. Going with
Steelers.
Steelers.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's so that's interesting because I think that was a player who, again, if I'm comparing him to somebody, I just heard today someone compare him to Eric Weddle. I think that's a bit lofty. I think Cooper DeJean is getting underrated in this draft prospect, though. That dude, he can play. He once again, I mean, this is just a guy that
Yeah.
plays ball. He is my favorite player to watch in this class, hands down. I don't think he's the best corner. I think he will be moved to safety, as everyone always talks about. Like he's going to move to safety, but I could see a Kyle Hamilton situation kind of coming up where he plays he flows around. He plays in the slot. He'll play in the box. He'll play deep. He'll double up. And he'll just be able to be a gadget guy. I love a gadget guy where you can kind of stick him anywhere on the defense and he'll ball. And a lot of the time, those players don't work out. But Kyle Hamilton is a perfect example of that working out perfectly. Kyle Hamilton is what Isaiah Simmons should have been.
Yep.
Kyle Hamilton is what I'm blanking on his name. The guy from Michigan, Jabril Peppers. He's what Jabril Peppers should have been.
Gadget star, yeah.
And I think Cooper DeJean is probably not as good as Kyle Hamilton in terms of his athleticism, but I do think Cooper DeJean is a really, really, really good prospect. And is, again, one of the only defensive players that I would take in the first round that I would call first round talents. I would say
He's
Cooper
an Iowa
DeJean.
guy.
Yeah, and he's an Iowa guy. In Iowa,
Defense,
they
yeah.
have good,
All they do.
strong
Yeah,
players.
they
Most of
always
their
come in
games
decent.
end 10-0 or some shit. Also, another guy that benefited from a really good pro day. His number, he had a really good 40, really good. I think he had really good vert, broad jump, his bench press,
Yeah.
that kind of shit. So, oh, by the way, you're really skimping out on my boy, receiver wise. What's his face, Xavier Legette or whatever from South Carolina, because that guy, just listening to him talk, I can't wait to hear his interviews. He's incredible. Have you listened to his interviews?
No, I have not heard him
Oh my
talk.
gosh, you have to listen to Xavier Legette's interviews, and I do think he might be a sneaky first round, or he's a perfect Steelers mid to late kind of guy. Uh, just watch out for him. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a real freak,
Yeah,
especially
I
in the
have
interview.
not watched a lot of Leggett film. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
you need to. One, look at him physically. He is a fucking animal, and two, the best interviews you've ever heard. Like, just think of the most hick guy you could ever think of.
My
And then
God.
that's Xavier Legette. It's so incredible.
Love
That's
it.
really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
it
definitely
is.
check that out.
Yeah, so the Penn State guys, I'll just say they're probably overrated because that's kind of how Penn State is the last couple of years. By that, I mean every year overrated. Chop Robinson, though, love the name. That's all I really have for them.
Yeah, and you know what? I think sadly, Chop is not gonna go by Chop in the NFL.
You don't think
Is he
so?
going to go back to his regular name?
I'm pretty sure I saw when he was at I don't know if it was the combine or his pro day. I don't know which one he did, but I'm pretty sure he entered as like Demarion or whatever his like real name
Mhm.
is. I
Yeah.
don't think he's gonna go by Chop on the NFL level. I mean, it's gonna be really hard to like that's such an iconic name, Chop
Yeah.
Robinson. I feel like it's gonna be really hard to kind of like leave that, but I do think he's gonna try and do what Odefe Owe did and change his name when he gets to that level.
Which I saw the thing about how he got the name. I think it was because when he was a kid, his mom called him Pork Chop. And then
Yeah.
once he got to college, he was like, I didn't want to be called Pork Chop, so I just cut it to Chop.
Yeah,
Which is
that's fair
crazy.
enough.
So one thing I wanted to bring up here with the Saints, I've seen some mock drafts that they're going to be taking an edge rusher over a tackle. So just is even if they are going to take an edge, I assume Chop wouldn't even be in that conversation. There's just too many others that would like.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
maybe.
mean,
They might like him over Jared. They might.
yeah, I mean, personally, I do like Chop more than Jared.
Mhm.
I just think at 14, man, there's no way you reach for Chop or Jared.
No, of course.
If
But
you trade back and you can maybe somehow trade to the range where, because I think Chop Robinson is somewhere between 25, 35. He's
Mhm.
like somewhere in that range of like that kind of prospect
Okay.
where he'll probably come in and he probably will start. I don't think he'll be amazing right off the bat. I think one thing that I want to say about all these amazing Penn State edge rushers that we've had over the years is they so rarely turn out like they are projected in college.
Mhm.
You look at Arnold Ebiketie that went to the Falcons. He had a very underwhelming rookie year. He kind of came back last year. He was decent. You have Odefe Owe to the Ravens, who again was coming out of the draft. He was like, this is an
Yeah.
amazing pass rusher. He was very mediocre his rookie year. Again, kind of coming back in his second and third years. Really, the only amazing Penn State edge rusher that we've had in this era of amazing edge rushers out of Penn State is Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a pretty good one. Micah Parsons is easily, a top 3 edge rusher in the NFL today.
Definitely.
But I think sometimes that these Penn State edge rushers get overvalued because they're so good in college, but then for
Yeah.
some reason it does not translate.
Well, the way the defense is geared toward, like, the defense is built on edge pressure for Penn State. Like, that's just what they do. Like, that's like, that they don't do a lot of disguises. I feel like it's like we're coming with this pressure from the edge. That's what we're doing. So it makes it a lot better. You can almost stat pad, like you can do almost in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get a couple extra sacks doing that.
Yeah. He'll be good. Again, I don't know if
Give him a
he's
few
going
years
to
to develop,
be.
basically, is what you're
Yeah, I
getting
could
at.
really see him. I mean, yeah, I could see him being like Arnold Ebiketie or Odefe Owa and kind of taking a year or two to really like become a solid piece. Like, I'm sure he'll be good. Like he'll be on NFL rosters for a while. I don't think that he'll be amazing. And to go back to what you said, I think that there is a 0% chance, Mitch, that the Saints do not take a tackle at 14.
Really?
Again, I think this tackle class is outside of quarterback and receiver. Tackle is the third most important class in this draft. And I think right now, their tackles are Trevor Penning, who, again, another player, not to pat myself on the back, that dude coming out of college fucking sucked. Like, I'm not trying to make any friends with this take here. Trevor Penning was not good. Trevor Penning, in my heart, holds a terrible spot in my heart because I'll never forget the Senior Bowl where he almost ruined Desmond Ritter's career, something that Desmond Ritter would later go on to do himself. But he tripped Desmond Ritter in that game and then blamed Desmond Ritter for tripping over his leg, not to mention character issues all over the place and just a lot of penalties. Is not good when he's on the field. I think he got injured his rookie year. Terrible. Then on the other side of the line at right tackle, you have Ryan Ramczyk, a guy who I believe will probably retire because he's been hurt the past 3 seasons. And when he's on the field, again, he's good. But if he's always getting hurt, he won't be out there long. So I think that there's no shot that they don't take a tackle. I could see them moving up for Joe Alt. There's not a 0% chance that they could do that. I'm not sure they have the draft capital necessarily to move up to a top 10 pick to get Joe Alt. Because I think Joe Alt is easily number 1 in this class.
Yeah.
I think after that, it comes down to preference. Yeah. And I think Fashanu kind of fits New Orleans' scheme a little bit better. Fashanu is a guy, he will for sure need to be in the right system. He's an amazing guy at the college level, and I think that's undeniable. But there are just some times that he just seems a little bit inconsistent. And again, he's a freak. He's huge. He's fast. I believe he's won awards for offensive linemen. I'm sure all the Penn State fans are going to come at me and make sure they tell me that, he's won this award and this award. And, he's shared a field with Caleb Williams. Someone told me that he was going to be good because he was on the same high school team as Caleb Williams.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, he's at Penn State, let's be honest. He's probably going to be mid.
But yeah, then he went to Penn State. And again, Penn State has this thing where they make their culture and their scheme has these standouts, and then they get to the college level, and more often than not, they don't actually succeed. And I feel like Fashanu is a guy who, if he goes to the Saints, I'll be like, you know what? He is an upgrade, an instant upgrade, and he will start day 1 at the Saints.
Yep.
And is that good? Is that bad for Fashanu? I have no idea. I do think that he is a first-round pick. Do I think that I would necessarily value him at first round? Again, it depends on where he goes.
Yeah.
If he goes to the Saints, maybe starting him day 1 is a bad thing. Maybe he would do better at a place like Dallas or San Francisco, other places that maybe needed a tackle to kind of jump in at some point this year.
Well, plus also if you watch the Saints, their issues weren't defensively. It was a lot of offense. I mean, obviously the biggest problem is you have Derek Carr, but besides that,
one of the issues.
Yeah. The offense itself could definitely use some help, and some extra protection for a scrub like Derek would definitely help.
Yeah.
And the Saints just brought in Chase Young, so I don't really think that they're a team that's looking for an edge, especially when they have such a glaring need. I'm very confident that they take a tackle. I would put 100% guarantee that they take a tackle.
A tattoo of.
I'm not going to get a tattoo of Olu Fashanu or anything Saints.
Because he can be our second shout out. We could tag him in this too if you want.
He will probably not like that. I do not think that he is a clear-cut first-round talent. He's interesting. He's an interesting player to watch. I think he's got some highlights where I'm like, oh yeah, he's better than Joe Alt. And he's got some other plays where I'm like, this dude I don't know if he
Hey,
knows what's going on.
it's gonna come down
Um,
to the system, honestly, that he goes to. Like, if he goes to the Saints,
exactly.
it might benefit him just because in that starting position and how they usually have somewhat of a decent O line. Depends on the year, of course, but like I think that system would probably benefit him best compared to other teams that just struggle with that constantly. It's just eh, it all depends on where he goes, I think, and the coaching and the system that he's gonna work
Absolutely.
with. I mean, it worked for him in Penn State, but that, like you said, could not
Yeah.
translate to NFL, honestly. So it,
Yeah.
like you said, just depends.
Yeah. I will position for me to like scout is usually offensive lineman,
Hmm.
obviously, because it's just a position where, if the play is going the opposite direction, there's not a lot to see.
Yeah.
Um, and I will say I've met like last year I loved Anton Harrison. I don't know what's up with that dude. I don't even know if he played last year, honestly. So last year my tackle one was Anton Harrison. The year before it was Tevin Jenkins,
Mm.
a guy who got moved from tackle to guard. So I'm not always hitting on these tackle prospects. Personally, I think that this is a really deep tackle class. Fontenot, I have going to the Dolphins, another team that really, really needs a tackle.
Hmm.
Um, Another team that maybe, if Olu Fashanu ended up in Miami, maybe he doesn't have to start day one, and maybe that benefits him. I don't know. Um, I'm not huge on JC Latham. I have him going in the first round though too. I mean, Fuaga out of Oregon State. I think he's a first round talent as well. Amaris Mims, obviously, I have him kind of falling to the Ravens. I think those Georgia tackles are always just a little bit raw, and teams aren't going to be willing to reach for them as they are for like Joe Alt or Fontenot out of Washington or Fashanu even, who maybe look more the part day one and have those like
Hmm.
day one skill sets. But
I
Amaris
did just
Mims
realize you
also
have
a
seven.
fluke.
You have 7 tackles on here. I just realized that. That is
Yeah,
actually
it's
pretty wild. Yeah.
Yes, I think 7 tackles will go. I would be surprised if less than 6 go for sure.
Are you
Um,
tattoo worthy of 7 tackles?
you keep pushing the idea of getting a tattoo. Uh,
Listen, you have to be so confident on some of these takes that you're willing to get a tattoo.
I
we
Hey,
should have
like
said
have you
this
ever
when he
watched
was so confident on
yeah,
Ritter.
yeah, have you ever watched like Nick Wright on First
Ritter is
Take?
good. I don't
Nick
care what
Wright on
anyone
First
says.
Take, he got a tattoo of because he loves the Chiefs, like the Chiefs 20-0, and then the
Hmm.
Super Bowl, whatever this year. And he did get the Super Bowl this year, just they didn't go 20-0. Like
Yeah,
you gotta be ready to die for your
gotta be
takes.
dedicated, Brian.
Ooh,
Definitely. This
Dedicated.
is a
yeah. I
cause.
mean, I do I like again. Mock drafts are tough because you're really only projecting what you would do or
Hmm.
what you think should
That's
be
fair.
done. But at
I
the
think
end of
this
the
is a good
day, I don't think I am that confident any of these things will happen because, who's to say some random team like the Carolina Panthers don't trade away every asset they have to come up to like pick 12 to take,
Yeah.
I don't know, Lad McConkey or something. Like it really could be all thrown into chaos. But
Hmm.
this is a good tackle
that's a great hot
class.
take. This is a good segue into the hot takes though.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
Yeah. So
is
do
that
we
your
want to
hot take?
start
The
our
Carolina Panthers to take Lad McConkey? Is that your hot take?
I mean, okay. No lie, I think Lad McConkey is a perfect fit for the Carolina Panthers. I have him, no joke. I'm not even kidding. I have him taken at 33 in my other mock draft.
Really?
The
Well, they're
full
really
one,
big.
the
They're really
full.
big on Xavier Legette. I'm not gonna lie to you
You
because
keep saying
he's a
Xavier
hometown
Leggett.
kid, bro. He's a Carolina kid, dude. Come on.
I think Lad McConkey is a quirked up white boy with swagger, and I think Lad
Oh, his
McConkey
route running
is
is nice.
it's really really nice. And I think if this was a different year, Lad McConkey would be a first round pick too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
probably right behind Marvin Harrison, honestly.
okay. All right.
All right,
He's
Dylan.
definitely top five. He's definitely in my top five. I think he's probably behind the big three. Um, but I would have him as high as the fourth best receiver. Well, no, because Brian Thomas is there. Okay, well, Adam McConkey is definitely five.
Okay,
Brian
that's
Thomas is
fair.
definitely four.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, Xavier's only there because of his speed. So like,
yes,
and
I
I
think.
could see the Chiefs. I could see the Chiefs not taking Xavier and taking like Lad or someone else, like
Yeah,
like an Xavier
yeah,
Legette or something.
Yeah, I have Worthy there. I think that 40 time is going to convince somebody to take him. And I think the
Yeah,
Chiefs are
just
in a
like
good
what's his
position.
face, the guy that broke
Yeah.
it before, Dick Face McGee that went to the Bengals. What was his face?
John Ross.
Yeah, John Ross, who really panned out absolutely terribly.
Yeah.
And you know what? Xavier Worthy is better than John Ross already, and he hasn't even played a snap. So I feel
Yeah,
pretty
but
good about Xavier
that
Worthy
build
being
scares me,
decent.
bro. He's like what, 5'11" and 170,
Man,
soaking wet.
yeah.
I
See,
mean,
I've ranted about this before, but the players lose weight to run a fast 40,
oh,
And then put it
absolutely.
back on.
and then they put it back on, and it's like, what was the
That
point of
guy
that?
that guy is no way any different. He walks around, I'm pretty sure, like a 170 to 180. There's no way
Yeah,
he
I
does.
think his playing weight was like 185. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't
Bro, you
remember,
look
but
at that
I know
man.
he like weighed in at 165 or something ridiculous. And it's like that is not your playing weight. You are not playing football that light. Like that'd be
I
the
mean, I guess
lightest
it
player in
worked
the
for
NFL.
Devontae though. Devontae Smith was a shrimp dick, and he fucking made it through. So I
Right.
mean, works for all of them.
Yeah.
Mitch, I would like to hear your hot take first because I know it's gonna
It's
be outlandish and ridiculous.
it's not actually that bad. I don't think it's terrible, but
Okay.
I think Caleb Williams is not gonna have as great a season as
Here we
everyone is
go. Here we
thinking.
go.
I
Are you
don't
calling a
think
bust?
I,
Are
I
you calling
don't
bust?
think because he's a bad
Call him a
player or
bust.
athlete.
Call him a
Call him.
bust,
Do it.
coward.
Do it. Call him a
Call
bust.
him a
Come on.
bust.
I don't think he's gonna be the bust that everyone like thinks of as a bust. I think
Okay.
I'm not questioning his ability as an athlete and all that sort of stuff. I just think because he's going to the Bears and their system, he's going to struggle. I don't think he's going to have as great of a year as everyone is
I'll
thinking
tell you
he's
what, the
going to be.
Bears
I
are doing
don't think he's
everything
going
they
to be.
possibly can to make a QB comfortable, though. Getting DeAndre Swift, getting Keenan Allen, having DJ Moore, like they're doing everything possible. I actually think he's going to do even better than people think because of that, because they are doing everything they possibly could to have a successful season with
I
a,
don't know. I'm just skeptical. I hope I'm proven wrong, but like I'm just skeptical on his first year success. If he can, I definitely think if they do decent this year and have a good draft next year, he could definitely be like very, very good in the league. But I
so
think
you're
this
so
year he's
you're on
gonna
record calling Caleb Williams mid.
for this season, I think if they can't figure it out on management and if their team looks anything like they did last year, I think it's going to be a tough season for him.
You heard it
Okay.
here first, folks. Mitch said Caleb Williams sucks.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep, you heard it.
100%.
Yep. I want everyone to record just that part. Please send it in at the end of the season when he's probably rookie of the year with 4,000 yards. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. 4,000 yards. I'm going to go 28 touchdowns, 10 picks.
Damn.
Yeah. Come back to this. You'll see it here first. Oh, and let's just throw in probably, I don't know, 300 to 400 rushing yards, somewhere in that area.
He's
Maybe
a low key.
600.
He's low key a very good rushing quarterback
Oh, yeah.
too.
He can
That's
scoot it. He can
people
scoot.
Yeah.
don't appreciate that, but he's pretty good at
Like I
I
said,
think he'll be in that 4 to 600 range for rushing. I think he'll be there.
I'm not discrediting his ability as an athlete. I think he's a very good player and everything. I'm just questioning the system he's going to for the first
Okay,
year.
no, that's fair. The Bears, I mean, their greatest QB in their history is Jay Cutler. So
Exactly. Like,
yeah. Oh,
I'm
and I forgot about your Mitch Trubisky. Sorry, but hey, I would like to tell you my hot take is that
yeah.
the only QB we didn't talk about here on this first row is the Michael Penix fucking Jr., and he will be the best QB this year of the rookies.
I don't know that he'll be the best. I think he's going to be in the conversation, though. I actually wanted to use that as part of a hot take, but
I'm
I think
glad
I'll
you didn't
stick with the
because
Caleb Williams one.
I've been riding on it. He's been slept on. Michael Penix Jr. First off, he's the best thrower of the ball in
Yep.
this draft class over Caleb Williams. You heard it here first. Watch the fucking film. I haven't watched any film besides this guy only because I'm so confident that he will be the best. Now I'm a little worried that you have him going to the Raiders because the Raiders suck. Fucking dick, let's be honest. But I think if he goes to the right place, i.e. Miami, and taking over for Tua, I think that would be awesome because the offense is already set up for a left-handed QB. He's already got plenty of weapons to sling it. That would be really nice. And yeah, I just think he's going to be the best QB this year of the rookies.
Are you confident enough to ride that train like Brian did with Ritter, or
I will ride this train till I am riding this one into the ground. I'm pulling a Brian, and I am riding this into the ground. Yes, 100%.
Interesting.
See, here's what's crazy is Michael Penix is not that good, dude.
He's better.
I
He's so
like
much
him.
better than Ritter. He's like 30 times better than
Okay,
Ritter was
he
coming
is.
out of
Okay,
college.
we
Definitely agree with that there.
we
Yes.
Yeah.
cannot for this
Absolutely.
podcast. We cannot for this podcast use Desmond Ritter as the measuring stick for whether a quarterback is good. We
Listen,
absolutely
coming out, you
cannot
would
use
have
We
thought you
have to,
thought he
though,
was
because
Jesus
you
Christ
love him.
reincarnated. You thought he
is better than Desmond Ritter. That's not necessarily.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? Is it? Hit it.
I mean,
No,
Michael
but for real
Penix.
though, he's gonna light it up.
Michael Penix is old. He's injury prone.
He was injury prone 2 years ago and beyond when he used to be a rushing QB. He has not been asked to rush and has not been hurt in 2 years. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I also don't think he's that accurate.
He was the most accurate QB this year. Just want to throw that out there as well.
I know. And again,
Yep.
I've said it before.
If you
When you only have a 1-year sample size of whether a player is good, I think that's kind of a problem. He
was
was
good every
not,
year, but then he kept getting hurt also.
right. So that's a problem.
I think it all depends on the
But
team.
the last 2 years, he's been absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it. And his combine was crazy because everyone what'd they say? He was unathletic and he couldn't move anymore. And then he ran a 4.4, and everyone's like, oh shit. Actually, he's stupid athletic and he's mobile and can throw and was the most accurate. Why the fuck aren't we taking this guy?
I kind of have to agree with Dylan here, Brian. I mean, I like Michael Penix,
listen,
but I mean,
listen,
which
scares me a little bit
as high as Dylan here, but
might not be great that Mitch is on my side, but I'm all right with that.
I mean, I think best case scenario for Michael Penix is, he starts 4, 5, 6 years for a mid team like the Raiders, does all right, but once again, not good enough to be a Super Bowl contending team, not good enough to be an MVP candidate. I feel like teams are going to be a little bit nervous about him. Honestly, one of my lesser takes is I don't necessarily think he's a first-round lock. I think he's a guy who could fall in the second or third round.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. No, I do. I agree with that.
He reminds me a lot, and this is, again, you just talked about him not having a lot of movement in the ACL injuries, but he reminds me a lot of Herndon Hooker, a guy who in college people were saying, oh, he's a first-round pick. He's got this amazing arm. And then draft day comes, and because of the injury concerns, because he was older and because he had no mobility, he was a guy that fell to the 5th round. I could see a very similar situation happening for Michael Penix. And I think Michael Penix is probably a better quarterback than Herndon Hooker, but I'm not willing to say that he is a first-round
I think there's no way he goes below the second. Not a chance.
Yeah, if he doesn't go, he's definitely going.
I think
100%.
Someone will take him because of that, because they'll see him in the second, be like, "Oh shit!"
That's a steal.
Like the Seahawks. If he gets below the second, there's no way they're riding with not Tyrod. Jesus Christ, Geno Smith that long. Yeah. Like I feel like in the second round they'll take him. He's like a local kid, or I mean, any other team that's like a little hesitant. I could even see the Giants if they don't go. Maybe they're like, "Oh fuck it, we'll just take him or something." Why not?
I think there would be a lot of teams to bet on him if he does fall that low. Like you said, why not?
But I do agree with your takes. I think where me and you are is like where you're high on Drake May, I'm high on Michael Penix, and we just flip flop. Like I'm same way with Drake May. I'm just like, I know he's going to go first round because of the hype last year and not this year, but that's where I'm like I really like him, and you really like Drake May. So we're gonna find out, buddy. We're gonna find out.
Yeah. Penix it's going to depend on where he goes for sure, like you said.
I think it'll be a good draft, honestly. Regardless, there's a lot of great talent here. There's been some bad drafts recently, but
yes,
I think a lot of good talent here. I think every team is going to come out in a good spot, mostly.
Yeah. Dave, did you give your hot take, Brian?
I did not give my hot take. Would you like my hot take?
Oh,
I would want nothing more.
Okay. So I think my hot take is something that we touched on a little bit before. My hot take is that your defensive rookie of the year is Cooper DeJean.
Ooh.
I think Cooper DeJean is going to come out and immediately ball.
I hope
I
so.
think, I mean, I have him going to the Steelers here. I've seen him kind of taken all over the place, anywhere from, I've seen the Colts take him at 15 in some mock drafts. I've seen him fall out of the first round entirely. I've seen the Packers take him. I've seen, I was going to say, I think I've seen the Bucks take him in some situations.
Mhm.
I think that this dude can play football. He is not going to show up on stat sheets. I think he's a day one starter. Um, he's got a good awareness for the ball. I think as a pure corner, Nate Wiggins is still my number one, but Nate Wiggins is hurt. He's coming off an injury. I think Cooper DeJean is a impact player, and I think he is going to ball out immediately.
So you're calling this? He will be the first white corner to start in what, 25 years? You're calling?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That is
Well, so like I said here, I mean, I said this earlier. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be a boundary defender.
Oh yeah, true.
I
Okay,
yeah.
as a safety, he could also bounce around. Okay.
Yeah, I think
That's fair.
he will end up maybe being like a free safety or a strong safety, someone kind of moving around, moving up into the box, moving into the slots. Maybe he'll play some outside. I definitely think he's not, incapable of being manned up on a guy
Yep.
and just kind of owning him. I mean, you watch the film, the dude has done it before. And when he does, he succeeds. He is a really, really, really good player. He's my favorite player to watch, and that's why I think he's going to be defensive rookie of the year. I just don't know if there's anybody else in this draft class that it has the versatility of Cooper DeJean. He is really, really, really fun to watch. I'm really excited to see where he goes and see how he plays. And if he lives up to the hype,
Good
we
on
could
you.
have, yeah, we're gonna have a good time watching him for a long time to come. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like it. I actually, I really like that take. I hope it comes true. I hope he goes to the Steelers if that is true.
Definitely.
So basically, he would have a comparable season to Joey Porter because he was almost rookie of the year for defense,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
He was runner up, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was what, 2 or 3 in the
Yeah.
voting, and I think Cooper DeJean to the Steelers. The reason I have him there is he's such a good fit. I think
He was
the
our first.
Steelers
He was the
the
first person
Steelers
there,
love
wasn't
Iowa. Yeah,
he?
they
Yeah,
they
he was the
love
first
going
interview
to
we had.
Iowa. Um, and I think that's very, very telling. I think he fits the mold perfectly. A lot of teams want the Steelers, not a lot of teams, a lot of scouts and mock draft people want Jackson Powers Johnson to go to the Steelers. I don't necessarily think that that's a good look to take a center in the first round. I have the Eagles doing it. I'm not confident in that pick. I think
But I
that
think the
if
Eagles
he
need it at that point.
falls, I think the Eagles are in a position where they don't need any one particular position. I think they take him anyway. Not to get off of Cooper DeJean. I just think he's a really good fit. I think that's a defense that you add a piece like that to it, and it goes from being one of the best defenses to easily like a top 3 defense. Like that is going to be amazing to watch. JJ Watt coming off the edge, Minka Fitzpatrick in the back, and then you have Cooper DeJean flying around making plays. That's going to be really fun
That
to
would
watch.
be. I might get a little bit too excited watching that team if that happens.
Yeah.
I'm excited
I
thinking
highly
about it.
recommend if anybody out there has not watched Cooper DeJean play football, go watch Cooper DeJean play football. He's really good.
All right.
I like it. I like our takes. I think I think for sure mine's probably going to happen, but we'll see about everyone else's. I'm not sure, so
Yeah, I
we'll
can't
see.
wait to come back to these like after the season or like midway through the season. Like
Yeah, I mean, you called Caleb Williams a bust, so I mean, that's
True.
awesome.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting season. I can't wait for the draft in a couple days and go from there. But yeah, look forward to talking with you guys again soon. And yeah, see you then.
School's out of session.
Who is out of session? See ya.
Peace.